Doris entered the cafe and immediately noticed Maureen. She joined her at a table. "Did you order for me?" she asked. "Yes, chili con carne with a crust of bread. Will that suit you?" "Great." Their lunches arrived. "You look a little depressed, Mar. Is something wrong?" Maureen set her fork aside. "Nothing serious. Ed's away on a business trip again, and it's my birthday today. It was the same last year." "Oh, shit, I forgot too," Doris said. "That's all right. Anyway, Ed didn't forget. He did everything he could to refuse this trip, but he just had to go. You know what his job is? He'll call me at 7:30 from the hotel, and he's booked us a spa for the weekend." "You say there's no problem, but I'm sorry I forgot. What are your plans for tonight?" "Just to lie in front of the television, I suppose." "We can improve on that, Mar. Did you come by bus?" "Yes, Ed took the car." "Then meet me at the pub next door, say 5:30. We'll get a little tipsy, grab some pizza, and I'll call a cab to your place at 7:15 so you can take Ed's call." "Oh, thanks. Why don't you stay and watch a blockbuster movie with me?" "Sure, take in some romantic one and I'll get a bottle of wine." Maureen went back to work. She didn't tell Doris that her boss and co-workers had forgotten her birthday, too. She didn't want to look completely miserable. The day dragged on, but soon she was at the plaza. She got there by 5:25. Since a tipsy Doris was in the plans, she ordered a Jack Daniels. "Would you like something to go with it, miss?" The bartender was handsome, and she liked the miss. "I think so, yes. Put an ice cube in it and add more Jack Daniels. It's my birthday." The bartender handed over the drink and said, "Happy birthday." Maureen flinched slightly as the drink burned her throat. Her skirt pulled up high on her hips as she climbed onto the bar stool. So be it. She didn't care. "Why are you flinching? You don't like it." A man appeared from a dingy corner and stood beside her. He was handsomer than the bartender. There was no one else in the pub this early. "I like it, but the first sip always makes me wince." "Is it only the first sip that causes that effect?" "Yes, look." She took another sip, but it turned into a gulp. She swallowed more than she intended and barely kept from sputtering. "Good, but it was only a slight twitch. I swallowed a little more than I should have." For some reason, that made him smile. "It would be easier to swallow if you added something to it. Coca-Cola, for example." "I don't want to add anything. I like the taste." He smiled again. "My name is Adrian, but I prefer aid. Like first aid. I'm here to make you feel better." It was her turn to smile. "My name is Maureen, but I prefer more, which is more than a handful." His gaze inevitably fell on her prominent breasts, and they both laughed. Her breasts seemed to join in the fun and rippled, pulling up the buttons of her blouse. "If I may, I would like to treat you to another drink. It's a little experiment. I want to show you something." Doris was frustrated. In the company parking lot, there was a long line of cars waiting to leave. The main road was jammed with traffic. Everyone was going home at the same time. She was going to be late. Finally, she got to the main entrance and saw the problem. A traffic jam had formed all the way to the traffic lights. The traffic jam that formed after each red light didn't reach the entrance to the parking lot. She rolled down her window and smiled at each male driver. Eventually, someone flashed their headlights and let her out. "It's called Bowmore. It's a single malt. A good wine shouldn't make you shiver," Aide said. "When it goes down your throat, you shouldn't feel a burning sensation, just a warm, sexy glow." He was still facing the bar, but was now closer to Maureen. She turned to face him on her stool and thought that sooner or later she would have to try to pull her skirt down. Her panties might have been on display, but it wasn't a good idea to scuff them up too much. This guy was very sexy. "Actually, I should let you know I'm expecting a friend," she said. "He must be crazy to leave a beautiful woman alone." So, he thought, she was expecting a man. There was no need to enlighten him. One drink with a handsome stranger wouldn't hurt. When Doris arrived, he would have to make sure he wasn't noticed. "My friend will think I'm being cranky." "I think so too," he agreed. "Here, try your Bowmore." "You bought me a double portion?" she said. "You're going to get me drunk now." Sorry, I thought you preferred the big ones. Don't worry, I've got a big one too. Doris waited long enough. The next slot was only half a chance, but if she didn't take it, she'd never make it to the plow. She fired, expecting to hear the sound of a car klaxon. Unfortunately, the guy saw the expanding space too and sped off. What Doris heard was not the sound of a klaxon, but a crunch. She had been hit from behind. He didn't have time to signal. Her seatbelt buckled and she said, "Shit!" The same thing happened to the guy in the back, who also said, "Shit." A moment later, they both made their way outside to the sound of many honking horns in the dense traffic. "You don't have to go down it in one fell swoop," said Aide. "It must be drunk and savored." He put his hand on Maureen's naked thigh and straddled it. It was as if he was increasing his irritation. She noticed this, but made no move to stop him. It felt nice and warm to her. His other hand was on the bar, and she put hers on it, reassuring him. "But I drank the Jack Daniels. That was only to get rid of it so you could try the Bowmore. You're really naughty." "What am I supposed to do?" "You need to wait while I get you another one." "Okay, but you have to be patient with me. Point out where I'm wrong." She left her hand over his while Aide ordered a second Bowmore. With his other hand, Aide ran his other hand down her thigh. He didn't even pretend it was accidental. She closed her eyes for a moment as he almost reached her. Better take advantage of it. Doris would be here soon and they'd be leaving. Her drink arrived. "Now just sip it." Doris was discussing the accident with the guy who'd bumped into her. The general rule was that it was the fault of the person who drove into the person ahead of them. However, they didn't argue. She agreed that she should have waited for a longer gap and that she was too impatient. He agreed that he was going a little fast and could have slowed down faster. They exchanged names and addresses. He turned out to be David Gray and had his insurance information with him, but she had left hers at home. Then he asked for Doris's phone number. She thought it was a little odd, but he was quite cute. Maureen took a sip and grinned. "You're right, he is very smooth. Now I'm being a good girl, is that better?" "Actually, I like bad girls. There's a naughty way to drink single malt wine, sipping a little at a time, but that's actually very dishonest. I don't want you to get in trouble, well, not too much. Try it. Then close your eyes and open your mouth." She did so. Aide took a mouthful of Bowmore, his own, not hers. He closed his lips over hers and ran his tongue over her mouth. Then he released the liquid, one drop at a time. Her tongue swirled around his tongue, and she swallowed the whiskey and saliva, little by little. Sensing her submission, his hand crept up her thigh. The kiss lasted almost 5 minutes. Halfway through, Maureen wrapped her arms around his neck and pulled him closer, then lifted the leg closest to him and placed her foot on the rung of the stool. If Doris didn't come soon, she would not be held accountable for her actions. "See how nice and warm it feels," he said. She licked her lips and the bartender pronounced, "I think you two should get a room and celebrate the lady's birthday in comfort. While you're thinking about it, please go and get a table in the corner." They took what was left of their drinks to the table where Aide was sitting when she entered. 2 men and a woman entered the bar. Their debate at the scene of the accident grew louder. They still weren't angry, but they had to raise their voices above the cacophony from the stationary cars. The noise was interrupted by sirens and flashing lights. A police car coming from the opposite direction stopped in front of Doris's car. 2 officers got out of it, and one raised his hand to stop traffic. He then waved to the first of the stragglers behind Mr. Gray's Volvo. The second officer surveyed the damage. Volvos are made like tanks, and this one only had a dented front bumper. Doris's Ford looked more damaged. "So this is what bad girls do, huh?" Maureen asked. "Kind of like that. The really mean girls wait until I've gone to get fresh drinks and then they slip into the bathroom and strip. But I doubt you'd dare do that if you're really waiting for a girlfriend." "Really?" She glanced at her watch. "God, it's almost 6:30. What's happened to her?" Maureen looked like an enraged bitch. She'd never acted like this before. It wasn't her fault. The birthday and the whiskey. She didn't know what to do and left it up to fate to decide for her. "So that's the plan," she said. "I really need to use the restroom and you can buy me another drink. If my friend comes over, I'll have to leave, sorry. But if she's not here by 6:45, you can take me home in a cab. It's not far, and I'll make sure you won't regret it. We've returned your car to the parking lot, ma'am, but you'll have to call a towing service, the officer said. Why? Doris asked. She'll drive fine. I'll clean up the broken glass. I'm afraid you can't drive on the highway with broken brake lights. But I have an important meeting at the Plow. Well, perhaps you can call a tow truck. I'll have the station call for a rescue car. What about me? Mr. Gray asked. Your automobile has not sustained significant damage, sir. You may drive on. Maureen sipped her whiskey. Was this her third or fourth drink? Who cared? Everyone had let her down, even Doris had forgotten. And now there was no reason why she shouldn't enjoy herself. Every girl deserved to have rough sex on her birthday. And Maureen's sex wasn't far off. Aide eyed her and couldn't help but notice that she'd undone another button on her blouse. Or was it two? You can order us a cab, she said. I apologize for being cavalier, but I ordered a cab while you were in the ladies' room. It will be here any moment. The cabbie had seen couples like this before, but usually not this early in the evening. They were flushed and giggling. She looked like she'd flipped her skirt up around her waist. Lucky bastard, she was very pretty. I see you liked my offer. I can't wait to get a taste of it. There are two rules, whispered Maureen. The most important one is that when my husband calls, you must remain absolutely silent. No kissing or squeezing, just pull away. If he thinks I've brought home a man, he'll kill us both. What's the second thing? No need to prolong the agony. I'm almost ready. Just fuck me hard and fast. And when you're done, say happy birthday. Can I stay all night? I'll be disappointed if you don't. But your car shouldn't be parked in the driveway, said the driver. I have to take you to the garage. Please, could you stop in the parking lot by the pub? I'll only be a minute late. I need to tell my friend why I'm late. She jumped out of the car and ran to the pub. Was my friend there? Was it the busty girl in the short skirt? Yeah. You just missed her. I don't think she'd want to see you, not unless she likes threesomes. What? A truck horn sounded. Oh, never mind, I have to go. Maureen's blouse was off before she even got to the couch. Aide stood in front of her and she pulled off his slacks and pants faster than he could do it himself. Now take me, she said hoarsely. Happy birthday, he shouted. Happy birthday, rang out in reply. The door to the kitchen swung open and her boss and co-workers entered the room. There were balloons and silly string wrapped around her breasts. Then there was silence as everyone present considered the scenario. Her husband stepped forward with a white face.